And now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
This is the RBLR Rays podcast. I'm your host, Zach Dobbin, along with my co-host, Pat Davenport. Pat, today, in about 2 hours, Rays baseball is being played.
We made it, people. We're finally back. In fact, we've never been so back. The 2026 Rays season is about to get informally underway, and we're going to watch some Rays and some Flappy Boys play some baseball today. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. And you know what? Last night, I looked out my window at like 5 p.m. The sun hadn't set yet. You know it's time for baseball when that's happening.
And a bit of an interesting matchup today up against Carlos Carrasco in the year of our Lord 2026 out there up against TJ Nichols, who, if you are unfamiliar, was kind of tossing the pill down in single and double A last year. So it should be a fun starting pitching matchup. Love the lineup that we're throwing out there today. Got some really good names: Melton Caminero, Carson Aranda, Palacios, Fortes, DeLuca, Keegan, Valade. A lot of guys that we've been talking about all offseason. Some of them we're going to talk about today as we preview the infield. A lot of impact guys getting a shot out there. It's couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, really, really cool. It's a strong lineup. I mean, when you look at that compared to the Braves lineup, I think they've got less in terms of the regulars or like people that you'd expect to see play. Like they've got Ben Gamel playing, Brett Wisely, if you remember, he was a Ray for like 5 minutes this offseason. Yeah. It's not as, maybe we can look for a W at home at Charlotte Sports Park today. That'd be nice. A nice way to start it off. And I guess something that's worth noting is that all of the spring training games are being streamed for free on Rays.tv.
Yes.
You don't need to buy anything.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Unfortunately, it's not available on TV yet. They've not organized a channel for TV, but you can just go on Rays.tv and stream it. So that's really cool. So there's no reason to not go watch some Rays baseball today at about 1:10 Eastern.
Yeah. And before you head on over and watch some Rays baseball, come and talk some Rays baseball with us. If this is your first time joining us, coming back to baseball, we welcome you. We're excited to have you. If you're coming back from some previous shows, you've been with us, we thank you for coming back. Do us a huge favor. Check and see if you're subscribed or if you're following on any of the socials. It's how you know when we're going live. Helps us out a bunch if you drop that follow or that subscribe. If you want to give us your thoughts on what we're talking about today, we're going to be talking infield. We're going to be talking some hopefully not too scary injuries. We're going to be talking all kinds of stuff. Give us your thoughts on YouTube in the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys. And we're going to get right into it. Let's get the bad stuff out of the way first. There's not a whole lot of bad stuff, but there is a couple of things to note. The first one is Edwin Uceta. We mentioned previously that he wasn't going to be pitching in the World Baseball Classic. It does appear that whatever was bothering him that caused him to not go out for the WBC is lingering at least a little bit. He's been shut down for about 10 days.
Yeah, the cranky shoulder has now had a bit more of an accurate description. They're saying it's inflammation in his shoulder, maybe a nerve impingement in there as well. They're hoping that it's nothing serious. They're hoping that he can resume activities in a week or so. And they said he should be ready for opening day, assuming no setbacks. But they're saying it's pretty tight. If there are any setbacks, you might miss the first couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah, and I would imagine at this point that it's one of those where starts the season maybe on the IR and gets a rehab, couple appearances in Durham. Nothing to be panicking about. We'll be talking about the bullpen next week. We have a surplus of arms. It would be something to be concerned about if we lost him for an entire season. But missing him for a couple games is not the end of the world. We'll just be keeping an eye on it because you don't want those things to be lingering into the season. And he is a big part of this bullpen if he was out for any length of time. But at the moment, doesn't appear to be anything to be too worried about. Seems to be mostly precautionary.
Yeah, I mean, you say that. I think the Rays are going to take mostly a closer by committee appearance. But if we do end up going with the traditional closer, Uceta seemed like the guy that was lined up to do that, so it would be a blow to lose him for any length of time. But we've still got guys that you can handle in high leverage situations. Clevenger can take that role. Griffin Jacks could take that role, and they're experienced in those positions as well. So it would hurt. Yeah, but the key thing with spring training is don't get hurt. But if you do get hurt, take every precaution to make sure it's not a big injury.
Yeah. Speaking of taking every precaution, that's what they're doing with Chandler Simpson as well. And that one is still in the very undefined stages of exactly what it is. The part that's a little concerning is it appears to be something to do with his legs. And we're not 100% sure what that is, but that's kind of his game. So we hope that is nothing serious and once again just a precautionary thing, because that would be a serious issue. If he has some issue with his legs, that's going to really hamper his ability to be at his best. So hopefully nothing serious.
Yeah, hopefully he just slept on it funny and it feels a bit weird right now and it's not any actual damage. We'll see, because it's a shame though that he's going to be kind of not going for proper reps at the moment, because I don't know if we've talked about this previously, but Kiermaier is in camp at the moment.
Yeah.
Kevin Kiermaier is in camp working with the outfielders. And one thing we would have loved is Kevin Kiermaier to work with Chandler Simpson. We talked about this even midway through last season, where Simpson had obvious tools but was really struggling out in the field. It would have been really nice for him to get as many reps with Kiermaier as possible. Kiermaier's given good reports. He's posted videos on social media saying he's feeling really good about what's been going on in camp. And he says, just give me 3 days with these guys and you'll see what we can do. So I'm hoping that Kiermaier is sticking around for the whole camp. Simpson gets a bit more time with him, because that would be, he's never going to hit for power, but if he can be elite speed, good defense, plus good contact, that's all you want out of Chandler Simpson. So we just, and the defense feels like it's the thing we want him to work on the most. So hopefully he's going to get that time back out in spring training and it's not going to keep him out for too long.
Yeah. When KK was announced to be back with the organization, a lot of the posts about him being back with the org specifically mentioned working with Chandler Simpson. So that's clearly intentional by the Rays, because they can see, just like we can, that he's a crazy talent if he can hone some of that defensive ability and really maximize his value a little bit more. And so the hope would be that even if he is out for any period of time, which again, he may be fine and we may not have to worry about it. But it does seem like KK is going to be around all season. So even if he is out for some time, that work with KK can continue, because he's a great guy to have around the team. For those who are new to the show, KK is one of my all-time favorite Rays. KK, if you ever want to come on the show and talk defense, open seat on the pod anytime you want to hop on. Always loved him out in center field. I love his defensive mindset. It would be hugely beneficial to get that injected into Chandler Simpson. So hopefully nothing too serious. On the flip side of the injury news, we do have two very positive videos that we saw this week. The first was earlier this week, seeing a guy that I didn't think I was going to see throwing, and that's Mason Rodriguez. He was out, Manny Rodriguez was out there throwing. I didn't expect to see him throwing anytime soon, but he was out there tossing the pill. Still not any significant update on when he's going to be back, but just the idea of him out there throwing, huge deal.
Yeah, great first step on the road back from Tommy John surgery. I've noticed that Tommy John surgeries have been the recovery from Tommy John surgeries have been getting a bit quicker. I think there's been a new type of Tommy John surgery that's required. It means you need less time to recover. It's crazy because I remember Tyler Glasnow was able to come back quite quickly when he had it with us. Yeah. So things are getting a bit quicker. It's not the usual season and a half, assuming all goes well. It's usually now a season and a bit, as opposed to a season and a half. So maybe there's a chance that at the back end of the year, you could see Manny pitching again. I wouldn't put money on it or anything like that, but if he's free from setbacks, I don't see why not.
He could be a great kind of going into the postseason addition to the bullpen if he gets healthy. That's kind of where I see him having the most impact. Yeah, honestly, if we're out of the running towards the end of the year, if he wants to have a cup of coffee, that's fine. But I'd be just as soon as to leave it. But if we are closing in on any kind of a postseason berth, he'd be a great guy to have around. So that was exciting. And today we saw videos of Shane McClanahan up on the mound. He threw about 16 pitches, I believe, around 80% intensity was what Ryan Bass reported, and looked good. We need to see more of that because, as we've talked about, and we talked about it kind of in depth last week, he's a guy that we need to be a big part of this rotation if we want to go where we want to go long term.
Yeah, 100%. I'm still so scared with Shane McClanahan because he was here. He was doing this last year. He seemed ready to go last year. He pitched a couple of starts into spring training, all seemed fine. Then all of a sudden, he has a little injury. It wasn't meant to be a big one, and then he was just gone.
Just
for
gone
the whole year.
Yeah.
My least favorite type of injury are the ones that it's not expected to be a big deal, and then they just like disappear. Yeah. And you don't really hear a trace from them. But fingers crossed, because if he's a part of this rotation, we are a way better team. And the upside is with him is super important. So if we can get a full healthy Shane McClanahan, even for 120 innings, that would really boost this team's odds of doing anything this season, I think.
1,000%. Before we get into the infield preview, Pat, anything you are in particular watching over the next week of spring training games, and any person, any position group, anything that you are watching in particular?
Yeah, I mean, Jacob Melton is my main watching point this season. He's leading off for us today, which is very exciting. Just because he was the big kind of acquisition in the Brandon Lau trade. And he has huge upside if it goes well for him. We talked about it when we acquired him, but even a friend of the pod, Ben Whitelaw, put it as, hey, imagine if Luke Raley could play like plus defense.
Yeah.
And Kevin Cash even gave rave reviews about him from the first kind of batting practice session, said he hits the hot ball as hard as Yandy and Caminero, which is like, that's pretty elite company to be in terms of the hard hit rate. So if he can put together solid at bats and avoid kind of strikeout problems, he's a guy that I'm really looking forward to see, how much of an X factor he can be for this team. Because I think he could really be one and could be the difference between us making the playoffs or not, depending on how good he is. I think he's currently got the outside track just because he's got options. So he's currently on the outside track of this opening day outfield kind of cluster, which we'll preview in a couple of weeks' time. But he's a guy that I'm watching really closely, as is Ryan Vilade as well. Ryan Vilade is a guy that kind of went under the radar when we acquired him, but we've always talked about him. Yeah. And he can play kind of anywhere. Cash said that he's mostly going to be in the outfield, but could play second base, could play first base, third base, like can kind of play anywhere, but expect him most in the corner outfielders. He doesn't have options, and he's avoided a lot of roster churn, particularly with outfielders. So it'll be interesting to see how the Rays view him and how he performs in spring as well. So those are my main two guys to watch in terms of the position player side of things. Do you have anyone that you are keeping an eye on?
Yeah, both the guys that you mentioned are guys that I'm watching. The other guy is somebody that I didn't really expect to be in the starting lineup today, but it's Dominic Keegan. He's a guy that when we talk about the future of the catching position for this team, he's somebody who is going to always be mentioned. And he is mentioned because of the bat. He has real 60 grade raw power and real potential 50, 60 grade game power. Has hit the cover off the baseball at basically every level, had a little bit of a rough going in AAA. And I say rough going, he was still around a 90 to 100 WRC plus, which for a catcher is pretty good. But he had been doing much better than that before that. So the hope is that this season he can kind of find a way to get back to his previous form, because if so, it answers a lot of questions that I think are out there right now about the catching position. We've kind of got some stopgap type of guys. Maybe a guy like Fiducia could be the future of the catching position. We're not sure yet, but he's a guy that I think is going to be a part of the conversation, especially with, and maybe this is something else we could talk about briefly before we get into the infield, is, especially with more ABS coming and more challenging coming, the need for elite defense and elite framing is going to start to go away, and a guy that can really hit is going to start to become, something in consideration, because defense is not necessarily he's not bad defensively, but it's maybe not his strongest point as a prospect. But with the changes that are going to be coming soon, maybe a guy like him becomes even more valuable.
Yeah, I agree with all of those points. Yeah. It's interesting that they've given him at bats straight away. Game one, they were like, get this guy some at bats immediately,
and not as catcher, as a DH.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how many reps he does get behind the dish and how many just at bats he gets.
Mm-hmm.
We're in this weird phase of spring training where even though we've started with a pretty strong lineup, they're gonna we're in the first couple of weeks, especially they play 5 innings and then they swap everyone around for a bunch of people you've never heard of, including us, by the way, who follow this team religiously, and it's our kind of our job to know who's on the organization. We'll see some guy and be like, who the heck is that? I'll never forget when I first saw Miles Mastroboni turn up. Who was that guy?
80 grade name.
Yeah. Ended up getting major league at bats for the Cubs, but it'll be interesting to see how much work Keegan gets and where, I think, is the key thing. Because maybe they might go, maybe he's not a catcher, actually, and we're just going to try and train him to be a first baseman or a DH. It's been known to happen. So that is a good name to watch. Any pitches before we move on? Any pitches that you're interested in?
I would say, the obvious one is Shane McClanahan. I'm really interested to see. I'm curious. I don't know how much we'll see Joe Boyle during spring training, but when we do see him out there, I will be very curious to see. And again, really just watching what's the control look like. How is he doing filling the strike zone? Because that is going to decide whether or not he's going to affect the major league roster, at least in the rotation perspective, is can he be filling up the strike zone? So I feel like until further notice, he is the guy that I think is the biggest coin flip, as far as if he figures that out, he is immediately an impact player for the major league roster. And if not, then he's just going to be in AAA until he figures it out.
Yeah, that's a great one. I'm also taking a look at, obviously, the new guys like Matz and Martinez. Sure. They're but also Michael Ferre. I love Michael Ferre. He was the guy that we got in the Bars trade. Had a really good season at AA for the Orioles last year. Got an invitation to minor league camp. He was my favorite prospect acquired in the Shane Bars trade. I know most of the guys were on Slater DeBrun or Caden Bodine. But Ferre, I think, has the best track record in the minor leagues of that package. And I'm interested to see how he does. And I believe we got Brody Hopkins in camp as well.
Oh, yeah, Brody Hopkins. Yeah. Yes.
So we got to keep a lookout for him, what he can do. Because both of those guys are going to make a case for themselves. Probably not to be in the big leagues out of camp, but can they make a case for them to be like, hey, we deserve to start in AAA this year?
Speaking of that, I just mentioned, we mentioned TJ Nichols briefly at the beginning. He is the lowest leveled starting pitcher to receive a non-roster invite.
Really?
Yeah, nobody else below. There's some guys that are on the roster that are there, but he's the only one that's was a non-roster invite that's below AAA.
Wow. Okay. Great.
So that's interesting to me.
Again, he only played 6 games in AA last year. So he's still pretty new to even the Biscuits, but he will probably start the season in AA. But if he really impresses, maybe he goes, hey, call me up at your own discretion, guys.
Yeah. I'm interested.
Yeah. So loads of guys to keep an eye on. And especially the kind of interesting balance of this 2026 Rays infield, which I think we should talk about now.
I think we should. But before we talk about balance in the infield, we should talk about balance in your wardrobe. Because the reality is, as you go in every day to figure out what you're going to be wearing, it's hard to find things that are going to balance out every single day. It's just going to be hard to find it. You're just going to have days where you go in there and it's like, this isn't really a great shirt, or this isn't really a great hat, but I'm going to just roll with it. And if you are seeking some balance and seeking some things that are going to elevate, if you got strong areas elsewhere in your wardrobe and you need things to kind of fit in there to create that elite balance, Shop.RBLR Sports is where you want to go. Promo code FLAPPY for 10% off your entire order of the best merch inspired by your favorite Tampa sports teams. Rowdies, Bucks, Lightning, Rays, Sun. It's all there. Shop.RBLRsports.com.
One thing that I would compare the merch of Shop.RBLR Sports to is our third base position, because it's like the easiest thing to break down. You just go, yeah, we're rocking that. And that we're talking about Junior Caminero.
Yeah.
But we're also talking about the t-shirts from shop.rblrsports.com. They're the same thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen them in the same room? I haven't. Maybe we can get can we get Junior Caminero some RBLR Rays merch maybe sometime in the future? I'm putting that to the producer right now.
We're gonna work on it. We'll get back to you guys on that. Something we're gonna get back to you guys on right now is the infield. And it's kind of funny to talk about the Rays infield because there are some positions where there's almost not much to say. Like third base, we know who's going to be there. First base, it's one of two guys every day that's going to be out there. But then the other two positions have a lot more questions. So Pat, let's get it started with first base. Let's go ahead and get it out of the way. It's two-man race, and it's just going to depend kind of a little bit on day in, day out. I don't think there's a huge, I don't know if there's much to be gleaned from looking into who's necessarily starting at first, but it's Jonathan Aranda and Yandy Diaz. They're going to be taking turns there.
Yeah, and it's going to be mostly Johnny Aranda, if anything, if last season was anything to go by. Aranda, I mean, had such a huge breakout last year. Was a pretty common pick to break out. Yeah. And he did in a big way. Was awesome. You'll be awesome again because his tools, every Rays hitter, you go, oh, if they did well, was it because they were in Steinbrenner? I don't think that was part of Aranda's game at all. In fact, I think he underperformed home run wise what I thought he might do at Steinbrenner Field. Yeah. He is a line drive hitter. Excellent at making contact, excellent at hard hit kind of line drives. Is not a 30 home run guy, but is a guy that will hit 300 and will hit 30 doubles in a year. Really strong player. Always gives you a strong at bat. His walk, he draws walks at a good clip. He feels almost like a Yandy Diaz regen. It feels like we've got current Yandy and also Yandy of 2021.
Yandy 2.0.
Yeah. I'm super happy with Aranda. I think whenever Aranda needs a day off, Yandy can play first base. It's a pretty sorted position. We just hope that he stays healthy.
I think the thing that is the most confusing to me about Jonathan Aranda going into 2026 is the way that he's being projected. I don't know if you've looked into, we talked a little bit about projections in a previous episode, but if specifically looking at him, nobody has him projected for over a 122 WRC plus. And I just I would love to know, to talk to the folks, and they probably aren't specifically projecting Jonathan Aranda. They're probably running an algorithm, but I just don't know what the possible numbers they're seeing that are spitting out a 122 or 120 WRC plus. I just don't if that happens, I would be that seems a little bit odd because as you said, the way that he hit is the way we have been expecting him to hit since he's put on a Rays uniform. He has shown that level of bat all throughout the minor leagues, and it finally clicked. And there was nothing in his game that I thought, man, he's going to he got really lucky this year. Not at all. I would be really surprised if he's running anything other than a 130 or greater WRC plus all season long. Yeah,
that is very confusing. I mean, if you look at his under the hood numbers, he 94th percentile average exit velocity, 96th percentile hard hit percentage, 98% launch angle sweet spot percentage. He is just the king of elite contact. Whenever he hits the ball, he hits it really well. He doesn't necessarily hit the ball in the air as much as you might want him to. And I guess the only concern you could have with him is he's got quite a long swing. So his bat speed is not like elite like Junior's. But like that's not his game, right? Yeah. So I don't know. Like I guess he strikes out a bit. He does have a few strikeouts in his game. I don't know. Like I don't know what, apart from health, I don't know what could go wrong with Aranda.
Yeah, I mean, he does strike out more than you'd like, but he also walks a decent amount. Like he walks at above average rates as well. Mm-hmm. So the combination of great contact with good walk rates, and then I'll take the strikeout issues all day.
Yeah.
All day.
It's the Brandon Lau thing, right? Yeah. Like Brandon Lau struck out a lot. Who cared? Well, a few people did, but we had to fight those people. Yeah.
We did have to fight those people. Yeah, you're right about that, actually. We did have to do that.
But I think then they got proved wrong in the long run.
Yeah, which, oh man, the other day, I can't remember if it was this last week or the week before. I think it was this last week. I saw a picture of the Pirates jersey with Brandon Lau's name on it and his number. I was sick beside myself. I want to throw up, legitimately.
Yeah, I thought of you when I saw that.
It was hard to look at. It was like a car crash. I couldn't look away. It was just yeah. Anyway, speaking of that, second base.
Second base. This is where we've got a big Brandon Lau shaped hole.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Just one last point on Aranda. His fielding was not as bad as we thought it would be last year.
You are right about that. Yeah.
Yeah. We thought he was going to struggle as a fielder, but he actually did all right in the end. And I think he'll continue to be okay. He'll be a passable first baseman.
Yeah, outs above average actually likes him. He thinks he's a pretty good fielder. So I'll take that.
Yeah. So the next, second base, we got the Brandon Lau shaped hole. We've not really. We would usually talk about second base the way we would have talked about first base, where we go, right. it's Brandon Lau. But now we've got a hole. It has been. I think we are assuming that Gavin Lux is going to take over as the starting second baseman, but I don't think it's 100% locked in. Just because Gavin Lux is coming off a down couple of years. What are your thoughts on Gavin Lux and potentially the second base position?
We talked about this in the offseason when we originally acquired him. I think I'm fine with Gavin Lux starting there. I think my perfect version of this season ends with Richie Palacios as the starting second baseman. I just think he's better than Gavin Lux. I think that, Gavin Lux maybe brings a little bit more power, although not necessarily a lot more power, but a little bit more power. But I just really like Richie Palacios' bat to ball skills and his plate discipline. I feel like the best version of the Rays has, maybe the best version of the Rays is Gavin Lux meeting the expectations that were had for him back in, LA. Maybe that's the best version. But I think the most realistic best version of the Rays is a healthy Richie Palacios winning the battle with Lux for that position, which would be significant because if you send Lux away, he's gone. He doesn't have options. So, but that's kind of my perspective. Is I think that I'm fine with Lux starting the season as the second baseman. I think the investment they made in him makes it almost a sure thing that he will be, slotted in there to start the season. But I think that it's a position that I am looking for Palacios to win over the course of the season.
I think that's the trajectory that everyone's kind of looking at. I think you're right that because Gavin Lux doesn't have options and they went out of the way to acquire him, they're betting on a bounce back from Gavin Lux, and try saying that 5 times fast. And if he does poorly in his first couple months and Palacios looks good and healthy and isn't getting hurt, then because that's the main thing with Palacios, right? Is he's not been able to put a long enough healthy spell together. So if assuming health and Palacios does okay and looks like his usual self, I think Palacios is a better player than Gavin Lux as of right now. But they're going to give Lux every opportunity first. And if it turns out he still is bad, which is what he looked like last year with the Reds, then we can just try Palacios instead. I think it's also worth mentioning that Valade can play there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also worth mentioning that Walls could play there.
Yeah.
And it's also worth mentioning that Luke Williamson can play there. Ben Williamson.
Yeah.
Ben Williamson. Yeah. Can play there as well. All of those are light-hitting, good fielding options, apart from Valade. So you've got lots of options, but none of them are like mind-blowing. But I think you're right. Lux will get the first. If I gave like a 9 out of 10 of like how good I feel about the first base position, I would give like a 5 out of 10 to second base.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you could promise me that Palacios is going to be healthy all year, it would be closer to a 6. But I got to be honest, it's like a 4 or a 5. I'm with you. And we kind of skipped over this for first base, so I'll double back on this a little bit. From a prospect perspective, first base, you've got some interesting guys. I don't know that they're going to be playing at the major league level. Trey Morgan has a shot at it. It seems like Xavier Isaac has stalled a little bit, obviously, with the injuries and some of the off-field stuff that he was dealing with this offseason. Good to see him getting a roster invite and being back at baseball. Really good to see that for him. But both those guys are names to talk about when it comes to first base. Second base, there's a couple of guys. Braden Taylor is the highest rated name. He's been considered a second, third shortstop guy. I imagine that he's going to end at second, but he's another high rated prospect. None of those guys. Aaron Amo.
Yeah.
Where is he going to start this? Where's the
so last year I believe he finished at AA.
Yeah.
He finished at AA last year. How much did he play at AA? He played like 37 games. He played most of his time at High A last year.
Yeah.
So I imagine he'll start the season in AA again this year. Again, he's a long shot, but he could ascend.
Yeah, one to look at too. And I think especially with the fact that Carson Williams is there, I think he's played a decent amount of shortstop. Aaron Amo has, but I imagine with Carson being there and Santana behind Aaron Amo he's even younger, and with an even he's rising almost as fast, and so I think third or second would be a place for Aaron Amo as well. So some interesting guys, and nobody that's like knocking on the door the way that like an Aranda or a Mead were in previous seasons, where they're just like banging down the door to get to the major leagues. But some guys that, if depending on how well they play and if injuries happen, there's some names to know for those positions, but nobody that's just like demanding to be given a spot yet.
No, yeah, you're right though, because Palacios makes good contact. He's again a line drive guy, not much of a home run guy.
Yeah.
But really good at drawing walks, grinding out at bats, again, good at hitting like singles, doubles. In fact, I think last year he hit like 4 doubles and then in like 2 games and then immediately dipped. It was like, okay.
Yeah, and he's a guy, we're going to talk about some guys on the other side of the infield that have some significant power. So having guys like, Richie Palacios and Lux can do that too. So no shade to Gavin Lux. He could do that as well. And we need guys like that on the team to be in front of guys like Aranda and Caminero and Carson Williams if he figures it out. So I think the days of us getting power from second base, at least for right now, are over. And we are now looking for on base and base running from that position, whereas previous years we were getting power.
Yeah, 100%. We're just having to change this. But I think we'll get, no matter, Gavin Lux isn't the best fielder, but I still think he'll be better than Brandon Lau was defensively. Because Brandon Lau graded out as one of the worst fielding second basemen in the league last year. I don't think that's going to get better now that he's over in Pittsburgh. And he's a year older. So Lux should hopefully be a bit better than that, and that any of those guys that I mentioned before in Williamson, Williams, Walls, Palacios could all field the position. At worst, averagely, and in Walls and Williamson's case, really well. So we will get better defense on that side now.
Yeah. It's one of the biggest question marks. What do y'all think? Y'all have an opinion on who should be starting at second base opening day? Let us know. The easiest way to let us know, hop on over to YouTube and drop a comment. Love to hear from you guys. And while you're over there, dropping a comment, maybe subscribe. We'd appreciate it. And while you're considering doing that, maybe hopping on over there, we're going to start talking about shortstop, which is another position where we haven't had certainty there in a little while. We're just going to leave that alone. And going into this season, it's one of the most dramatic differences as far as where it could be. Floor to ceiling differences is really dramatic with shortstop. I think more than any other position.
Yeah, but no matter what, we've got a glove there.
Yes.
No matter what, we are going to defend that position well. Again, Williamson, Williams, Walls are the guys in the mix there. It's really confusing that we got Williams and Williamson.
You get ready for that.
Williamson is older than Williams. I don't think biologically that makes sense. But anyway, I think so. At the end of last season, Carson Williams got a run of games out there.
Yeah,
he didn't really impress with the bat at all. But that was his first kind of cup of coffee in the majors. He has since been working hard in the offseason to make himself better and have better contact rates, better plate discipline, that kind of stuff. Because he does have power. He does have Willy Adames level power, I think, if it plays out well, where you're going to be in the 20 to 30 home run range. If he clicks, he is going to be Willy Adames.
Yeah.
Carson Williams, good Willy Adames.
Yeah.
If he does not click, he is going to be Taylor Walls.
Yeah.
And we've got Taylor Walls just in case he's Taylor Walls. Yeah. I don't know how it's going to play out in terms of, is Carson Williams going to start on the major league team? How do you feel about that?
I think the fact that they added Williamson makes me think that their expectation is that it will be Walls opening day with Williamson backing him up and then also serving as sort of your generic, multiple infield position type guy. And then allowing Carson to start every day in AAA, at least to begin the season. I think that is not, I would write that in pencil, because I also think, I would imagine the messaging to Carson when he got to camp from Kevin Cash and Eric Neander was go earn a spot. Mm-hmm. Let's see what you can do. Because we all know, talking about the best version of this team has Carson Williams starting every single game this season, playing the way we know he can play. He has hit 20 home runs or more in the last 3 seasons in the minor leagues, every single year. And so that's what he is. If he can bring that to the major leagues, this is a different kind of team. If he can bring that, if he brings that power with that defense, adding that into the mix here, it's a game changer to have that at shortstop. And so it's the thing that I think is going to make, it's going to be one of the, if we're listing the top 5 things that could make the biggest difference in this season, his development is right up near the top, because if he accelerates his development, that accelerates the race timeline by at least a year if he does that. And so he also could struggle when he could kill it at AAA and struggle again in the majors. Who knows? It took Aranda a couple of years to figure it out at the major league level, even though he was killing it for a good stretch. Just took him a little bit to figure it out. Maybe that's what it'll take for Carson. We obviously hope it's more of the Junior Caminero timeline. Only time will tell on that. But, we talked about guys that we're watching. I don't think either of us really said Carson, only because it's such a given that we're all watching Carson Williams, because that guy, along with Junior Caminero, is the future of this team from an offensive perspective. And it's just one of those where it's one of the beauty and the horror of baseball is I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea either. You're right that if he works, the Rays are going to be good again pretty quick. If he doesn't work, I don't know when the Rays are going to be good again.
They
Like,
could be good without him, but it's a harder path.
yeah. And you're also 100% right where Walls and Williamson are kind of the ones that we go, assuming everything plays out how we expect, that's how it's going to be. But if Carson Williams shows great improvements in spring training, then sure, man, go. Let's go do it. So we'll see. I mean, it would be great if we could start Carson Williams because I don't think he used up his rookie eligibility last year. No. I might need to be correct.
I don't believe so.
But if that's the case and he starts the season on the team and gets, rookie of the year, which is a possibility if he starts on the team and works it out, like he could be in the running for rookie of the year. That's a draft pick. That's a first round draft pick for the Rays. Cha-ching.
Yeah.
So there's incentives there. The Rays have rarely cared about that because they burned Caminero's rookie eligibility because he would have been, it would have been interesting actually if he was a rookie last year. Would you? Yeah. Him and Nick Kurtz would have been interesting. Yeah. But the Rays haven't seemed to care about that because they're like, we get draft picks anyway. We're really good at getting draft picks. But it'd be great if Carson Williams can work it out. But yeah, I would say it's like a 60% chance that Walls and Williamson are the starting combo.
Yeah.
Williams will be on the team at some point though.
Yes, he will be. Like it's not a if, it's a when for him. Mm-hmm. And the hope is that it's sooner rather than later. Because again, there's Ben Williamson and Taylor Walls are good. That they do what they do very well. What they do is not provide a lot of offensive value. So that's just the reality. And again, Williamson actually, I think, Taylor Walls was maybe one of the worst hitters in Major League Baseball, over the previous couple of seasons. I don't think Ben Williamson is not that. He's not quite that level of struggle. And we have seen really good moments from Taylor Walls. So again, we're talking best case scenario here. Maybe Taylor Walls can find some of that 2020, I guess was it 2023 Taylor Walls, where he just went on
where he was really,
he was elite for a minute and a half or something like that. We need to figure out if we can find that Taylor Walls somewhere in there for the first couple months until Carson's ready. That'd be great.
Yeah, there's just something will always happen to keep Taylor Walls on this team.
Yeah.
Something will always happen. As soon as you think Taylor Walls is like, okay, we're done with Taylor Walls, something will happen and he'll find his way back onto the team. Yeah. How are you feeling? I mean, other people that could be in the mix lower down, which I don't think is even a possibility, really. Yeah. If we had to get to our fourth or fifth string shortstop, we're in kind of trouble. Yeah. I guess it would be did we get some non-roster invite kind of guys?
So from the shortstop position, we only had one non-roster invite, and that was Gregory Berrios. I'm probably saying wrong. He was a non-roster invite. Aaron Amo could play shortstop, but he is there's not a whole lot of talent right now that's major league ready. Lots of really fun names. Adrian Santana, Victor Valdez. We talked about him previously from the international class. Fabricio Blanco. Some 80 grade names down there. Really exciting guys. None of them are going to be playing this coming season, or even probably the season after. But some very exciting names. But yeah, if the guys actually started dropping, it would be more likely we would go to the free agent market or a trade than we would bring somebody up, most likely.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll probably draft a shortstop this year as well.
High probability. High probability.
I mean, all prospects in the lower levels are shortstops. That's just how it works.
It does seem like it. It feels like every year when we look at the top of the draft, it's all shortstops. Oops, all shortstops. It's what gets drafted every single year.
I mean, there's a reason behind that. Like that everyone's either a center fielder or a shortstop at the top end of. It's because those are considered like, if you're good, if you can play a decent shortstop, then they're like, well, we know you can. If you aren't good enough for like the major leagues at shortstop, you'll probably be good enough for second base, or third base or whatever. Because Caminero came up as a shortstop, like. You know, and same with the center field. It's like if you can't play center field at a major league level, you go to a corner. It just proves that you're like the most athletic type of player if you can play those positions. So that's why they're premium. But anyway, I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. Slightly more confident than than in second base, just because it's better the devil I know, and I know what Taylor Walls will bring me. And I don't know. I feel like Gavin Lux could be potentially worse just because his glove is not as good as Walls is. But his hitting season last year was awful. So like his floor is lower than Walls is, I think. So yeah, I'm giving it slightly more confidence, but I'm still asterisk. If Carson Williams does well, the ceiling of this position is way higher than second base.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it at a 5. I had the second base position at a 4. I'm putting the shortstop position at a 5 because a lot of the reasons you said. I know what I'm getting from the guys that we have we were projecting on the opening day roster, and with potential for this to be an 8 or something if Carson Williams figures it out. But yeah, lots of question marks still. That once again, we're going to be watching baseball soon, and some of those questions will start getting answered.
Yep. A position that doesn't have questions. Third base.
0 questions. No questions.
It's Junior Caminero. Answers. Yeah, it's Junior Caminero. Next segment, please. 10 out of 10 confidence. We've talked previously in the offseason about how confident we are. Caminero might not necessarily hit 46 home runs or whatever it was again, but he will still have a monster season. Like I would be, we're talking 35 plus home runs. I wouldn't be surprised if he hit over 35 home runs again and continued to do well. Loads of people are like pegging him as like a big regression guy this year because they're like, oh, you did so well, you hit really well at Steinbrenner. I mean, yeah, batting average wise, but the home run totals, he actually hit more on the road, home runs wise. And there was loads of wind at play. I think as much as he might be getting a bit of regression in terms of like the triple slash lines at home, he might regress a bit there because the Trop is famously more of a pitcher's park. I think he's due some positive regression on the road, right? I just don't see anything in his tools that go, oh, he's suddenly going to have a massive drop off. I don't see anything. If anything, I could see him taking more walks and lifting the ball a bit more, hitting less ground balls. So I see no reason for like maybe a bit of a drop off because, expecting 40 plus home runs from someone again is always like, it's a weird thing to do unless you're like Judge. But I still see like a 140 WRC plus.
Yeah, I think putting any sort of stock or trying to make any determinations based on Steinbrenner Field statistics, to be honest, tells me you weren't watching games at the Stein, which most people weren't. Anybody who's watching games there knows the weather conditions were so. I mean, we literally, as we were watching games, we're like, that was a home run. What the heck? All the time. And also, if that was not a home run, what the heck? We had both. And so I literally, like, any attempt to make projections based on Steinbrenner Field stats, I think is a waste of time, to be honest. The way that stadium is designed and the way that the weather affects it is unlike any other major league stadium. And so I don't put much stock in that, which leads me to, again, having more confidence in him than I may have had in any player before, because he's going to get to go hit at the Trop, which, while not being a hitter-friendly park, Junior Caminero is not wanting for power, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know, maybe the most obvious statement of all time. And once again, I must remind you and everybody else out there, I know you know this, Pat, and most of our fans that are out there know this. He is 22 years old. 22. So I'm sorry. He could just get better because he is approaching the average age of first major league starts, where he is currently approaching. He is so the idea that he's going to regress, I mean, it's certainly anything is possible. But if I was going to place money, will he be better this season than he was last season, or will he be worse? Which is more likely? I'm going to put money on him being better. And again, will the numbers look a little bit different? Maybe. I think we may start to see a little bit more efficiency from him.
Mhm.
That's what I really hope to see. But again, we could also just see him hit a bunch of tanks again, and that would be super fun. And we're going to see him hit a bunch of tanks no matter what. And I think anybody who's projecting him to be anything less than a top 2 third baseman in baseball next season is just setting themselves up for failure, because the guy is elite. There's no signs that are, to me, reasonable that he's going to like be bad. He could potentially hit a few less home runs, but I think he's going to, like, if he could hit, like, I think there's a real scenario where he hits like 35, 36 home runs, but his WRC plus is 10 points higher because he's walking more or whatever else it may be. And so the home runs are not all that matters when it comes to hitting. And I think the best version of him, we won't see that for a couple of years. We won't see that until his age 25, 26 season, where we'll get a season where he hits a 160 WRC plus with 55 bombs. That'll happen. That's down the road still. This season from him, I think it will either be the same in sense of power numbers, where we hit around the same number of home runs, or we will see a few less home runs, but an uptick in some of the other numbers that we look at offensively, from a walks perspective, from a pitches taken perspective, from maybe a couple more doubles than home runs perspective, but the same level of value or more value, and not even talking about the improvements he can and will be making in his defense that will drive up his value as well.
Right. And and also he grounded into so many double plays.
Double plays.
He hit so many rally killing, grounding into double plays. Fun fact, okay? Junior Caminero grounded into 31 double plays last year. Okay? That is a top 10 most double plays grounded into season of all time. Yeah. Of all time.
Yeah.
Like 36 was the record, and he was on
the path.
Yeah. It was at the same time we were like, he got injured and missed like the last couple of weeks of the season, really. And we were like, damn, he's going to miss out on the Rays single season home run record by just a smidge. But also, he's not going to set the record for the most grounded into double plays of all time. I mean, the thing is, right, with the guys that are on this list, all of these guys are like good hitters. Do you know who's on this list? Jim Rice, Miguel Tejada, Cal Ripken Jr., Matt Holliday.
Yeah.
Like, these are all good hitters.
There's Hall of Famers on this list.
Yeah, but I think Caminero can also afford to do less of that, which will make him more productive as well. Less ground ball. Like, imagine if he hit just a slightly, like, you know, like he's doing what Yandy's doing, but still hitting 40 home runs.
If he ever figures out how to not hit ground balls and to get it off the ground, it is beyond over for the league. Because that's his only weakness right now.
Yeah, Barry Bonds would be scared.
Yeah, it will be completely over for the league if he figures out how to not hit it on the ground.
I mean, yeah, if he turned his ground into double plays into home runs, then he'd have 76 home runs.
That is the one. If he that's like, and again, when I'm talking about his peak season, there will be a year where he figures that out, and maybe he will do that from then on. But there will be a year at some point where he is in his prime physically and figures that out, and it's gonna be a fireworks show whenever that happens.
If Junior Caminero, assuming he plays a full season and doesn't get hurt, by the way, if assuming that and he has a FWAR below 4, like I will do something of the listener's choice, like on stream, because it's just, but he has to play at least 140 games.
Right. Yeah. He's going to be awesome. 10 out of 10 confidence.
10 out of 10 confidence. The last place we got to go is DH, which is also similarly easy to work out. It's going to be Yandy Diaz.
Yeah, it'll be Yandy. Yandy's awesome. He really hasn't dropped off in any meaningful way. He is The power numbers are slightly less, but the one, sort of outlier 20 plus home run season with a lot of other good numbers was a little bit of an outlier, but he's still been excellent.
Yeah, I mean, he had one of the sneakiest, really good seasons of all time last year. He hit, like, just for traditional stuff, he hit 300 with 25 home runs last year.
Pretty awesome.
Like, that's just and nobody talks about how good Yandy Diaz was last year. He still hits a lot of ground balls. I think he is a big category to watch his home runs drop off, because if you look at his home run spray chart, a lot of them were just absolute missiles that were like at 10-degree launch angle into the short porch at Steinbrenner. He's going to hit less of those. Yeah. But he still absolutely hammers the ball. He's still like the Greek. His walk rate did drop a little bit last year, which was a little concerning. But if he can get just a little bit better, move that 8% walk percentage up to 10% again, then like he's just great. He just absolutely clobbers the ball, makes great swing decisions, doesn't strike out. And him moving to DH is just like the way to get him plate appearances consistently. He's great. And again, I don't see any reason why he would be significantly worse. I could see his power dropping off in terms of home runs. But
he can be good without. He can be good without home runs. He can be hitting doubles and walking and be just as valuable.
Yeah, and if he hits 15 home runs instead of 25, I get it. But he's been really good at staying injury-free as well the past couple of seasons as well. Yeah. So, I mean, 651 plate appearances last year. Didn't miss many games at all. So, just do that again, please. Like 9 out of 10 confidence in Yandy Diaz.
9 out of 10 confidence, 100%.
Yeah. So, if we look at the infield overall before we go, how confident are you in this infield group in terms of being a playoff caliber infield?
I'm going to put it at a 7 because the corners are like top 5 in their positions, plus DH are like elite. The middle is just a huge question mark where there's, second base kind of has a hard cap at like a, 6 or 7 out of 10, where shortstop could go way above that, but could also be way below that. And so I'm gonna end up at a 7 with potential to get way higher. This could be the best unit on the team very easily. I don't think it's possible for it to be the worst unit on the team, which is why I say 7. But it's more likely to be like a top 1 to 2 unit on the team.
Yeah, I think 7's right. Like, this could be the best. If Carson Williams clicks, it will be the best infield in the American League potentially. Mm-hmm. If Carson Williams doesn't click, it's probably like a kind of middle of the pack, maybe slight like a 6th best infield in the American League. So that's the X factor, man. We got to see if Carson Williams can do it. I really hope he does, because this is a Rays team, and we'll talk more about it as the weeks go on. For me, that is currently on the outside of the playoff picture, but has a couple of X factors that could push it into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those X factors are things we're going to be watching here during spring training, and that's where it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm not sure how much we'll be able to necessarily glean from what we see, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully at least gives us some hints about what to expect going into the regular season.
100%. I think the game's in under an hour now, so let's all get some lunch. Well, for me, I'll get some dinner. You can get some lunch, and we'll tuck into our first course of Rays baseball of what will hopefully be many enjoyable meals.
Yes, and we are so grateful that you all have stuck with us throughout the off season. We've enjoyed talking baseball with you guys all season long, and we're now here. The baseball season is right here once again, and we're going to be saying Rays up all season long.
Rays up.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.